I think this is a great illustration that really kind of brings this thought process together. Really, you've got, from opportunity management, learning and development, incentives and recognition, being able to bring those together into a single user experience so we don't lose that engagement from platform to platform. But then also at the same time, using that data, John, you talked about from all these other platforms, be able to bring that data into that single platform and then use that information and use those cross-platform information to really kind of serve up that right activity at the right time to the right person. So, Christina, I know we've talked to so many use cases around this during, conversations, but what does this look like in the day-to-day life of a consultant? Yeah.
So I think, this is the thing where we get really to the crux of what makes this possible for the stylist. So, she logs into the platform and she completes a task that's about getting started in her business. And we ask her a question that says, do you want to do this to make a little extra money? Or do you want to do this to build a big business? Well, we take the answer to that question and we look at it and we say, okay, now we know what we can serve her. We can send her some information about, extra things on adding someone to her team. We can tell her how to go look at the incentives and recognition programs and leaderboards or program pages and see how she's, succeeding in those things. We can send her a notification that says, you're $500 away from getting a raise in your paycheck. And then it loops into the CRM. So like beyond just training and learning something new and being rewarded for it, we can say, hey, you had a customer who bought this pot and it was a 4-quart pot. And now we've come out with a 6-quart pot. You should send them a note and tell them that there's a new addition to the line of this cookware, right? So all of those things are in there. And if we then take the analytics by looking at that, we can feed it back into the system and know again exactly what to do. And so you're going to start getting, the more you're interacting, the more personalized and the more unified your experience is going to become. And so the desire to lean into your business and to lean into the technology increases.
That's a lot, Christina. That's, but again, it's a lot behind the scenes, right? Exactly.
So like to the user, they're not experiencing that. They're just seeing a little pop-up that says, here's a thing to do. And they're not having to write the message in the CRM. It's presented to them and all they have to do is click off the people they want to send the message to. Like that's the power of technology when the data works together. Is you can take all that information and make what's under the hood be complex without making the end user's life complex.
Hey, Christina, one thing, and Dan, one thing I wanted to add there that you said, and I don't want anybody to lose sight of this, you talked about what we call micro and macro influencers. And you said, we're going to find out, do you want to work, 40, 50 hours a week at this business or just 10? Indirect selling, one of my pet peeves is we're trying to make that 10-hour person into a 50-hour $1 million producer, and they may never want to be that. So if we can just get them to be really good at those 10 hours they're willing to give us and work 9.99% of those hours selling something, we're going to hugely magnify their abilities because we're focused on what they want to give us and optimizing that time. Some of those 10-hour people will become 40 and 50, but the data suggests over time, again, 90% of them are never going to be that person. So what you just said there, Christina, is brilliant. It's something I focus on with technology and something that excites me about what you're doing with this centralized user experience, which is to give them that ability, to give them the ability to work at whatever level they want to give a direct seller and maximize, optimize that time, because that's where we're going to grow these direct selling companies.
And to your point, John, like sometimes people become accidental superstars, right? So like they don't know when they answer that first question that they want to work more than 10 hours. They're just thinking this is a little extra money on top of their job. But the data, again, if we start seeing that that person's recruited a few people or that person's sales are going way above what, a part-timer might do, we can trigger more training to them, more resources to them, more questions to them to kind of revisit with them. And so it becomes a coach. It becomes a friend that's just sort of nudging you along and supporting you and cheerleading for you. And so, that's the thing is like, we can, again, it goes back to this notion of serving the right content to the right person at the right time. If you are that accidental leader and you promote and you didn't even know you wanted to do that, we should remind you that you just promoted. We should congratulate you that you just promoted on the comp plan and say like, hey, you did this. Do you need help, training a person? And let's give them that help. And they don't even have to ask for it. We can use the data to push it back into the system and keep that cycle going.
Christine, I'm jumping on this. This is one of my favorite topics, right? I think what you just I'm going to elaborate a little bit on what you just said when you said, do you need help training someone? Well, first of all, this accidental leader or, someone that's happened to, enroll a few people, like how did they keep engaging their team members? And, how are they, being alerted of their team's activity? How are they alerted of, hey, look, this person on your team, is this action or this amount of money away from this cool thing, and then at that point in time, have they been in that situation before? They say, oh, that's great. I didn't know that. But what am I supposed to do with that information? And, of course, apply the right learning in that situation. And then you take them through that whole thought process. And I think that's one of the things that we're seeing a lot with some of our customers is that thought process around really helping that new time leader build their team, but also, help them keep their team engaged. And a lot of times they just don't know about it, right? Like, Salesforce a long time ago came out with, right, don't download software, right? Or the cloud only. Well, kind of thought process here is that, do we have to give reports? Right. Reports are so important, right? And I don't know if we'll ever get away from them, but, people look at reports to identify things to do. Well, right. Can we just bypass that and help make it simpler and help provide those that don't really want to look at reports with just those next steps? And that can be for themselves or for their whole team.
Right. And that's a really interesting thing, Dan. Again, it goes back to how do we take in the information, not only from all the systems. So there's the systems of like, leads and sales and, back offices and genealogy. But then there's the like simple question that you might ask someone in the middle of their training. Like I mentioned, the first question you might ask, what kind of business you want to build, but like, asking someone to tell us how confident they're feeling about their business. And if somebody's feeling uber confident, we can give them a more complex sort of view of something. And someone who's not feeling as confident, we might give them some really gentle training information to help them build. Because they may have said, I want to build a big business, but as it turns out, they don't know how to do that. So we can sort of give them that information based on their responses to a question without making them feel like, nervous or anxious that I don't know how to do this. We actually just give them the right information again at the right time when they sort of have said, I'm raising my hand, but I don't know what to do. And technology helps when maybe you have a leader who's not present with you or, you're long distance from somebody. Technology can make you feel connected. So the one thing we haven't talked about in this is sort of that connection and how you can have, discussion forums and talk about things in your team and in the community of people that you're working with. And all of that is another piece of the pie when that information's in the same place where there's links to training or links to incentives. And that stuff is right in front of you, and you don't have to go somewhere else to get it, right? It's just inside the same platform, inside the same continuity of the experience.